this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Salem. Tonight I wanted to say hello to Grand Imperial Yankee, who came out to the museum yesterday, and it was very nice to meet you. And I wanted to take this evening to speak to one of the questions that you have asked here on MagickTV and also asked in person, and that was the difference in a pagan perspective on paranormal research. It is, of course, like almost everything else I talk about on these vlogs, a subject far too large for this format, but nonetheless I will say a few words about it. And the main thing that I would say about the pagan point of view on the subject of paranormal research is that we really would come to it, or should come to it, from a point of view of helping the spirits involved as well as helping the people involved, particularly those who are members of the priesthood, and especially those who are members of the high priesthood, should, for the most part, know a number of things that they can do to help these situations. First and foremost, the thing that we should be aware of and acknowledge is that the vast majority of so-called paranormal activities are totally harmless and not a problem in any way. Most people who have a ghost or a poltergeist or whatever, in most cases are actually somewhat fond of it. If anything, in many cases it's the ghost or the poltergeist who is in need of help, not the people. When Grand Imperial Yankee was at the museum, I brought up the subject of The Exorcist. Those of you who are of a certain age will remember that The Exorcist was a huge blockbuster hit in the early 70s, not least because it claimed to be based on a true story. And there were a lot of people talking about that. And in fact, The Exorcist was based on a true story. The only thing is, the true story was about a fairly minor poltergeist situation, and the movie was about a head-spinning, vomit-spewing possession. So it was very, very loosely based on the true story. Most metaphysical movies based on true stories follow a similar path. There is truth, but it's usually much more benign than what makes it to the screen or into many books. And in similar ways, when you look at most paranormal situations, you'll see they're really pretty harmless. People do sometimes get scared, but there isn't necessarily a reason for it. They get creeped out. There isn't necessarily a reason for it. On those occasions when there is a reason for them to be frightened, even if only in reaction to the situation, it's usually not that hard to deal with. Fairly simple techniques of energy grounding and house blessing are usually all you really need. There are certainly exceptions, but the exceptions are relatively few. Among those exceptions, which would be more within the realm of the high priesthood, are crossing over spirits who are caught between the worlds. Because usually if somebody has a ghost, one of several things may have happened, of which the first and most obvious is that it might be a spirit who is not fully crossed over, who is bound by unfinished business, or trauma, or fear to either to the place where they lived or experienced certain things, or just to this world in general. And when you get a negative manifestation, or a seemingly negative manifestation, this is often the root of it. And if that happens, all you really need to do is bring in someone who knows how to cross the spirit over, and help it to find rest. And then the phenomena will be relieved. There are a couple of other things that cause this kind of thing as well. One of them, and I believe it was originally Margaret Murray who brought out this theory, but I might be mistaken. The idea that many ghosts are actually not necessarily spirits at all, but are rather a kind of energetic imprint of traumatic circumstances. And this is the same idea, which is based on the idea that physical surroundings can absorb emotional energy. It's the same idea as when you hear about a house that's imprinted by things that happen there, either good or bad. Sometimes those things are imprinted so strongly that you may think that you see or feel them being played out. That kind of haunting is not actually a haunting at all. It is an imprint, and if you cleanse that energy, that imprint will go away, just as if you cleanse any other energy. There's a conversation going on in and around Pagans Tonight radio program about passing down magical tools. And of course the central issue in the whole idea of whether you would want to use magical tools that belonged to someone previously is the idea that they absorb energy. Well, everything in the world absorbs energy. When we use magical tools or anything else, it's a good idea to energetically cleanse it every now and then. Because things do absorb energy, and so do we. So we can pick up on other people's emotions, for example, and so can things. And sometimes they get very strongly imprinted. Although, as a general rule, it's not a strong imprint. But sometimes it is. But you would cleanse that in the same way you would cleanse anything. On the subject of heirloom tools, there might be tools that you would have that may have come from another person, and you might want to cleanse the energy, but you would cleanse your own tools periodically when they needed it too. It doesn't erase the good parts of the pattern. What it does is like when you remove excess energy, it removes excess energy. Although, certainly you can also do it to the point of reprogramming. But these are some of the differences that I would see in a pagan point of view on paranormal experiences. And I think the primary difference really comes down to a vlog that we said a few days ago, and that was the difference between being love-based and being fear-based. And, you know, as pagans, we really should walk into it being love-based, and it really does kind of change how you look at those phenomena. And again, from a pagan point of view, you want to cleanse the energy, you want to help whatever spirits may be involved if spirits are. Because if they're there, under most circumstances, they would need healing, crossing, etc. And of course, there's a difference between a ghost, quote unquote, which is a spirit which has not crossed into the next world, and which is bound by various emotional considerations or energetic considerations, and a spirit guide who has crossed but is still involved in the daily world as part of their spiritual work. We all have spirit guides, and that's a very different situation. So these are some of the considerations that I would enumerate when talking about a pagan view of paranormal research, and I hope that helps to answer your question and that you find it interesting. And until next time, may you blessed be.